Welcome to EPG Pathshala in the subject of information technology and in the paper of open source software. In this module, we will discuss about Linux file system. We will discuss what is a file, what are directories, how do we manage files in Linux, what are the different partitions, how they are placed in the Linux file system, and finally, we will discuss few directories and the files within those directories and their significance. So, let us begin with the discussion. When we say file, a file is a container which contains records, that is data, it may contain commands, it may contain programs, scripts, or it may contain configurations. So, a file may be considered as a set of data that is used by a user, or it may be set of configurations required to configure a system, or it may be a program which can be either in C language, Java language, or it can be a shell script. So, in Linux system there will be several thousand files, they are in the Linux system. Now, we need to organize those files in some structured way. So, there are directories. Each directory may contain multiple files and subdirectories. So, when we combine together, we get a kind of hierarchical structure. There can be directories, subdirectories, files within those directories and so on. So, we will get a tree kind of structure and it represents a file system. When we talk about file system, so it is a data structure with some mechanism, with some methods such that indexing of file is achieved. It also manages blank space or free space in the hard disk, how much space is utilized, and it tries to optimize the arrangement of files so that the user can benefit efficiently. File system also maps the hardware, that is the hard disk and the file data. So, it is a kind of mapping between the logical data, that is our file system, and the physical records that are placed in the hard disk. So, when we discuss file system, we must discuss different types of file system. In short, Linux has its own file system, Windows has its own proprietary file system. So, nowadays most of the operating system they give transferability, so that Windows files can be visible in Linux and Linux file must be visible in Windows file, and the same applies to different operating systems. So, let us begin our discussion. First thing that comes into our picture, as we see, the Windows or Linux they deal with the same kind of hardware. Let us say this is the hard disk with multiple disks. So, when we talk about Windows, each partition of this hard disk is usually considered as a drive. It can be a C drive, D drive, E drive and so on. So, when we partition a hard disk, the partitions are mapped into drive, letters like C, D, E and so on. If we insert CD or DVD, then it will become F, G drive and hence on. But in Linux, the partitions of hard disk, they are not considered as drives, they are considered as directories. So, one partition can be home directory, the other partition can be USR directory, third can be where directory and so on. So, this is the significant difference between Linux and Windows operating system. Although the hardware level partitioning is same, the allocation of size can be same, but the mapping or logical structure will change. So, when we talk about Linux, there is no C drive, D drive, E drive in our Linux system. Our Linux system has directories like home, user, where and so on. So, Linux has its own data structure which is quite different from Windows, and this data structure it is known as file system. So, the file system of Linux is different from the file system of Windows or maybe some other operating system. Now, the Linux file system it is a kind of inverted tree structure. There is a root at the top, or the tree starts from root, it is /, then the files are placed in directories. So, files can be classified either as user files, it can be system configuration files, or it can be device files. Files created by user, they are known as user files. So, generally they are placed in the home folder. Each user has his own folder, his own directory in which the files are placed. Those are user files. Again, for the system to run efficiently, it has its own configuration file. So, there can be configuration files for network, for devices, and so on. And there can be other files for the machine hardware, that is like device files. For instance, the device drivers for sound card, graphics card, there might be separate files for those devices. So, logically these files, they are classified into directories, and we get an inverted tree structure kind of view. At the top it is root directory denoted by slash, that is forward slash, and below there are directories like bin, boot, etc. and so on. There are n number of files in a system. Apart from this, when we insert a pen drive or if we insert a CD drive, again those devices, they have their own file system. Those file systems, for instance, the file system of pen drive, it is mapped onto the existing Linux file system. So, the tree goes on increasing. If we insert a pen drive, it is like we are adding branches to that tree. The file system of pen drive will map onto the Linux file system. So, let us move ahead. This is a brief diagram. In this diagram, you can see there is root at the top. There are directories like bin, etc. and so on. Each directory may contain several files, or it may contain subdirectories. For instance, the user directory USR has subdirectories like bin, include, lib, and so on. So, this is a short view of a file system. In fact, there are many more directories apart from these, and each directory has some significance, and each file or subdirectory again has certain significance. So, when we are creating a configuration file, it must be present in etc directory. When we are creating an executable file, it must be either in bin or it must be in user bin directory. So, there are some conventions which file will be placed in particular directory, whether it will be accessible by all users or only by a super user, and so on. You can see there is a root directory. So, this root directory, it is for super user. These files, they will be accessed only by the super user, or what we call the root or administrator. In Linux file system, the root directory and the root user, they are different. As we have already discussed, the root user, he is the administrator, or we call him super user, and root directory is the directory that contains files for the root user. And the files placed in Linux, they will be, the path will be in this form. So, slash indicates root, any file will start with the root. This is the directory name where, log is another directory, and messages is the file. So, when we specify any path, it starts with a forward slash. This first slash indicates root. Later on, it can be directories, subdirectories, and finally, the file names. It must be noted that in Linux, the files may not have extensions, or it may not adhere to the DOS extension. Usually, Windows or DOS file, they use the extension of dot and 3 characters. For example, .txt, .dat, .com, and so on. In Linux, the files may not have any extension. In the case we already discussed, the messages file does not have any extension. Though it is a file, it does not have extension. But looking at the directory in which it is placed, we can know that messages file will contain log messages. Similarly, the files in etc directory will contain configurations, and those files, they may have extension like .conf, .conf. So, in Linux the extension is not much important, but the placement of file in a particular directory does matter. So, let us see ahead. When we talk about Linux file system, there are several native file systems like ext3, ext4, SquaHFS, BTRFS and so on. So, these are the file systems, they are supported by Linux, and when we install Linux, these files like ext3 or ext4 they come with the installed version. So, while we are installing Linux, these file systems will be there, and when we are using some other operating system, say for instance Windows, then Windows has its own file system like NTFS, FAT, FAT32 and so on. Mac OS, IBM, SGI, they have their own file systems, and there are few other advanced file systems like ext4 that is already used by Linux, XFS, JFS and so on. So, a file system, as we have discussed, it is a data structure which contains indexing of files, and it usually contains mapping of files. So, what we can see when we click on the directory or file system, we see logical files. These logical files, they are mapped onto the hard disk. So, the data in hard disk is physical, and the file system, it is a software that is responsible to map those files. Again, this software or the file system takes care of empty space, the used up space. Depending on the data structure, we can know how much large a file can be stored, that is what is the maximum capacity or the limit of a file that can be stored on the hard disk. It is a separate discussion. Discussing ext3, ext4 is out of scope, because there are several file systems. For logging purpose, there is a separate file system that takes care of logging of file. Some file systems, they come with encrypted format. So, whenever we store data, it is encrypted. So, there are encrypted file systems, there are compression based file systems. As soon as we store data, it will be compressed and it will be written in the hard disk. But in short, the Linux uses ext3 or ext4 depending on the version of our Linux. So, let us move ahead. Let us see how these file systems can be helpful to us. Now, as you see in the diagram, hard disk is generally shown as /dev/sda. This is the hard disk. Hard disk can be partitioned, and let us say there are 3 partitions. The first partition is SDA1, second partition is SDA5 and the third partition is SDA6. So, root is one partition, home can be another partition, where can be the third partition. So, this is how we can partition hard disk, and we can map each partition onto some file systems. Now, we have a choice, we can use different file systems for different partitions, and suppose we insert a pen drive, then it will become the 4th partition, or it may be the 4th file system that attaches to our partition. So, these they are known as mount points. Mount point is a directory in a file system where additional information is logically connected. So, these are the mount points, and while installing Linux, it will ask for the mount points, how we want to create partitions and what will be the mount points. Suppose if we already have a Linux system that is working and we want to connect a partition to some logical name, then the command is mount. Mount command is used to attach a file system within the file system tree. So, as I said, if we want to attach a pen drive or if we want to attach a CD drive, DVD drive, then we say we are mounting that file system. Our pen drive has its own file system that is being mounted on the tree structure of existing Linux file system. And again, there are certain tools we can format those file systems. Format is like refreshing the files. We are creating a new index that is like formatting a file system. So, some part of this we have already discussed in the previous session while installing Linux file system. We must take care that when we are formatting a file system, the data is already backed up, and once a file system is formatted, we get better efficiency when we copy new files into that formatted file system. So, as you can see in the screenshot, this is a lsl command which lists all files and directories. I am in the root directory, and you can see the directories bin, boot, these are different directories. Few directories are created by user, say for example, this is a directory GIR that is created by user. There is home, lib, lost plus found, media, these are different directories, and each directory has its own significance. We will try to discuss few of the directories that are widely used for system administrators as well as by programmers. From this screenshot, you can identify whether it is a directory or a file. If it is a directory, we can see there is a D at a prefix. These are the permissions, and there is a D sign which indicates these are different directories. Let us go through each directory and try to understand what is the significance of the directory and what kind of files they are placed in those directories. The first directory that we study is /bin. /bin directory contains executable files. Most of them are essential commands that are used by either administrator or they can be applicable to the users. Now, before discussing the bin directory, it is required to understand how Linux server works. There are different run levels for Linux server. In one case, a server may not allow users to log in even though the server is connected to network. So, we call that single user mode. When we want to reconfigure server or we want to make changes to the server, usually under those circumstances, the server is executed as a single user mode and we deny other users to log in. So, that is single user mode. And in normal cases, when the server is running, then it is in multi user mode, where the multiple users are allowed to log in and they can execute their commands. In both the cases, the server may be connected to network, but depending on the kind of run level, a server may be either in single user mode or it may be multi user mode. So, commands that are required for single user mode, they are placed in the /bin directory. It does have command that can also support multi user mode. So, commands like bash, cat, ls, zip commands, all such commands, they are part of single user mode or they can be multi user mode, but they are placed in the bin directory. Apart from bin, there is another directory, that is sbin. Sbin is generally used by the super user or the administrator. Now, why do we have a separate directory? Sbin directory contains those commands that are helpful for the super user. For instance, shutting down of the system or rebooting the system or issuing the file system check command, that is FSCK. All these commands, they are only for super user, and that is why they are part of the sbin directory. Normal users cannot execute the commands of sbin directory. Let us move ahead. There is another directory /boot. The /boot directory contains boot configuration. When the system is booting, all the configurations, the kernel of the system, the configuration of kernel of system, they are part of the boot directory. Apart from kernel, the boot loader is also part of boot directory. In this case, where you can see boot directory contains kernel 2.6.32, there is configuration for the kernel, and grub, it is a boot loader that is required to boot this kernel. You can see the configuration of grub is also part of the grub directory. So, /grub, it is a directory and the config file is part of this directory. On the right side, I have shown the screenshot. I have issued tree command. by typing tree command, it will list all the files and its directories along with its subdirectories. You can see there is the bootloader grub, and these files they correspond to the bootloader. Apart from the bootloader, there is kernel and different files required by the kernel. So, tree command is helpful to identify the directories, their subdirectories and the files within those directories. Let us see another directory /dev, it is for device nodes, devices like hard disk, printer, CD, DVD drive, they all make this directory. So, these devices, they are individual files, even in Linux or in Unix, devices are identified by files, and these files they are part of the /dev directory. Most of the files belonging to this directory can be like software programs which we call the device drivers. Let us see another directory /etc. This is generally used by system administrators and it contains configuration files. Most of the system configuration file, they are part of the etc directory. So, let us take one example. In almost all systems, there is a DNS client. When we say DNS client, we call it resolver. So, whenever we are browsing websites, for example, google.com, yahoo.com, whenever we open those websites, our system fetches the IP of those websites. So, the process is known as DNS resolution, and once I enter a website, for instance google.com, my system will try to fetch the IP address of google.com. So, how it will fetch the IP address, which other systems will it contact to get the IP address, such kind of configurations, they are part of the etc directory. This is one sample configuration and the file is resolve.conf. Similarly, there are configurations for sound card, there will be configuration for network card, IP addresses and all those things, they form configurations. Those files are present in the etc directory. In some Linux versions, they form a subdirectory. So, under etc directory, there will be a sysconfig directory in which all these files are placed. So, it depends on the kind of distribution, but most of the cases the configuration files for the system, they will be placed in the etc directory. Now, suppose if they are individual users configuration, so configuration pertaining to user 1, some other configuration pertaining to user 2, then such kind of configurations will be placed in the individual users directory. It will not go in the /etc directory. In general, /etc is for the entire system's configuration. So, the next directory that we study is /home. /home directory, it contains the individual users files. As you can see over here in the diagram, each user, say for instance Akash is a user. So, there will be a directory for Akash under the /home directory. Badal is another user. There will be another directory for Badal and under this home directory. So, if there are 100 users, there will be 100 subdirectories under this home directory, and the path will be like this /home/Akash. This is for say user 1, user 2 is Badal, then it will be /home/Badal. Charlie is the third user. So, for each user there will be directories, and these directories are configured in such a way that one user cannot see other users' files. The default permission does not allow one user or any user to see other users' files, and that is why they are placed in the home directory. If the super user wishes, he can see configuration of different users because he has more privileges. How to give permissions we will study in the upcoming modules, but by default one user cannot see the files of other users unless it is shared. So, this is about the /home directory. As soon as you log in, a normal user will be logged in to this home directory by default. All the documents data, music, videos, they will be part of the home directory. Okay. So, the next directory which we study is lib directory. Lib indicates library files. Libraries are shared files that are used by the applications. It is like similar to DLL what we use in Windows. So, the applications might be in /bin directory or sbin directory, and their corresponding libraries, they are part of /lib directory. For instance, there is a library crypt.so.1, so indicates shared object. So, this library can be used by multiple users. It is a shared library and it can be used by applications whenever it is invoked. Again, in modern systems, there are two kind of directories, lib64, it is for 64-bit, and there is /lib directory for 32-bit versions. Even the kernel modules, they are stored in lib directory, and the path will be /lib/modules/ the version of our kernel. Usually, we do not deal with the lib directory, it is more used by the programmers who develop applications that use shared libraries. The next directory is proc. Now, proc is a virtual file system kind of directory. It contains the details of various resources like CPU info, interrupts, memory info, partitions. All these, they are hardware related or resource related configurations, and they can be seen from the proc directory. Most of the cases we cannot modify these files, they are read only files, and it will show the details during runtime. So, as soon as our system boots, the information of these files can be seen. Another directory is /var. /var is for variable. Now, when we are dealing with Linux, there may be files which may keep on varying. For example, log files, message files. These files, either they may be small, they can grow as the system is running. So, such files, they become part of the /var directory. Let us see what makes the var directory. There can be system log files, there can be packages and database files which will go in the /var/lib directory. Print queues, the spools, whenever print command is issued, those files may be part of /var/spool. Even the temporary files can go in var directory. It can be /var/temp. In some cases, there is a separate temp directory. So, it will be /temp, and certain network services may also create var files. For example, FTP, file transfer protocol, may create /var/FTP, and web server may create /var/www, and within which there can be access logs. So, if it is a web server, who accessed which page at what time, such kind of log details, they will go in the /var/www directory. So, most of the services can be file transfer protocol, web service, such kind of service where multiple users can interact. Those services will create messages, they will create log which can go in the /var directory. So, let us move ahead. There are directories like media and run. In the older days, there was media directory. Nowadays, the modern Linux, they use /run directory. You will find either of these directories. Whenever we insert a pen drive, that is a USB drive, or some kind of removable media like CD or DVD, they go under this media directory. So, the file system of USB drive or CD DVD drive, they become part of our existing Linux file system within this media directory. For instance, if Akash is inserting a USB drive, his entire drive can be accessible like this /run/media Akash and his drive name. So, these they are automatically mounted and it goes in the media or it may go in the run directory. Few other directories of Linux can be opt for optional applications, /sys for system wide files, /srv /temp tmp. As I said, the temporary files can go in this /user when there are multiple users, when the system is running in multi user mode, those commands they can be part of the /user directory. Now, let us explore this /usr in more detail. /user may contain include file, that is header files. It may contain lib files, libraries, can be 32-bit, can be 64-bit. There can be binaries for system daemons, there can be shared data, source code of any application can go in the src directory, and so on. There are local and bin directories within the user directory. So, /user directory is generally for all users throughout the system. So, coming to the end of the module, we have already seen all these file systems. Now, let us see how we can access those files. We can access through command line or through graphical user interface, but when we are accessing through command line, there are two ways. One is by specifying absolute path or by specifying relative path. When we say absolute path, it starts with a /, that is root directory. The absolute path is always starting with root directory / and it ends with a file name or it may be a directory name. In relative path, we give in terms of relativeness, that from this directory go backwards to directory. So, that is relative path. So, you can see in the screen the example of absolute path is /home /akash, in which there is a directory document, and within this document there is a file biodata.pdf. So, this is an example of absolute directory, and the example of relative directory path name is // home akash document biodata.pdf. So, this is an example of relative path name where it does not start with a /. Let us summarize what we discussed in this module. Our discussion started with concept of files and directories. What is a file, what is directory, how partitions are used in Windows, how it is used in Linux. Then we discussed what is a mount point. As I said, mount point, when we mount files, the file system of pen drive can be mounted on our Linux file system. Then we discussed different directories and its hierarchies. Root is at the topmost, within which there are subdirectories bin, boot, etc. There are different directories, each one has its own significance, different kind of files, they go in different directories, and this is how the entire Linux file system works. This also applies to open source software. It is not only about Linux. When we are developing or when we are using some open source software, those software have also the same kind of structure. You may experiment with some open source software, you can download those software. If it is a huge software, then they will place library files in lib directory, there will be bin directory, there will be src for source code. So, you try to download some open source software and try to locate different files. If you want to run that software, you may require configuration, and most of the configuration will be in the etc directory. So, please experiment with the Linux file system. You can also experiment with open source software, which can be made available through websites, and I hope you will enjoy exploring more and more files and gaining mastery over different configuration files. So, with this we end this discussion. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Thank you.